Hello, everyone. I'm Kiki, and welcome to YETI, Young Entrepreneurs in Technology and Innovation. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to give a warm welcome to all the aspiring founders, builders, and curious minds joining us. Whether you're already building something or just exploring the world of entrepreneurship, you're in the right place. We're just getting started on this journey, and there's a lot of exciting content coming your way. If you want to learn more or be a part of this community, check out the links in the description below. So let's just dive in today's episode. Today, I'm joined by someone really exciting, Karnika E. Yashwant, also known as Mr. Key. He started his entrepreneurial journey at just 14 years old and has gone on to become a global speaker and best-selling author. He's the founder and CEO of Key Difference Media and has been in the blockchain and crypto space since 2013, way before the hype even began. Over the years, he's helped scale blockchain projects, raised millions, and built a strong global reputation in the Web3 space. So, if you want to understand what it really takes to win in crypto, business, and beyond, you're in the perfect place. So, welcome, Mr. Key.
Hello, guys. Super excited to be here.
Welcome to Yeti. It's amazing to have you here. I've been following you on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I'm really excited to finally have this conversation with you. Today, we'll just talk about your journey. How about you find your way into blockchain so early, and also explore how relevant this space is in the age of AI. We'll also get into challenges you faced and some real advice for anyone looking to build something of their own. And I'm sure a lot of what you share today will resonate with our viewers and the Yeti community. So let's just dive in. We can start from the beginning. Can you walk us through your journey and what led you to where you are today?
Okay, so uh, I think the journey is journey of curiosity. When I was 14 years old, I was in my 10th grade, and I really hated to just be there, have a one-way communication of information, and I said, this is done and I'm not going to persist on that anymore. I was the best in my school, but I believe there is a better opportunity out there. So I was already into programming various languages and so on. And the curiosity led me to quit my education, get started with the web design development business. Within a year, I figured that it is extremely competitive and very commoditized space, so I started to move towards marketing, and there I found content marketing. Content marketing became major in the year 2012, but I was in the space in from 2008. So that led me to enjoy 4 years of being in the content marketing space as a pioneer, as an early adopter,
Mm,
which led us to work with companies like Cisco, AJC, and many Fortune 100 companies back then. And when I was doing the content marketing, 2013, that's when I came across Bitcoin. And it came through one of the clients that we were speaking with, and this concept, this idea came about. And being content marketers, we need to identify what it is. And the moment we did that, uh, for me, it was like I was blown away. Being a person who values freedom and choice so much, Bitcoin represented that as a philosophy. And for me, philosophy is more important than anything else. So that philosophy attracted me to do more in the space, get into that industry, understand it from ground up, and build something there. So 2017 was the major boom that we speak about. And in 2017, I was part of multiple top five crypto news media outlets and was part of the helping multiple projects raise funds during the ICO era. And in 2018, I incubated one of the top five crypto news media outlets, Cryptopolitan, which right now has about 8 figures of revenue and 25 million plus viewership. So that's something that was a major milestone in the early Web3 era. And to fast forward from there, a lot of things happened, a lot of things changed. DeFi came in, and we started incubating companies. We started investing in a lot of companies, over 200 plus startups, and from that period, and a lot of those things rolled, and we built quite a lot of other brands internally. So you mentioned about Key Difference Media, which is the oldest blockchain marketing agency. But we also have Key Difference Wire, which is the newswire distribution company, and Key Difference Labs, and many other entities in that similar time period. So, to answer your question in short, it's a journey of curiosity. Anytime I look at something I don't know what it is, or something that I don't fully understand, I want to dive in, break that down into small parts, master it, and build something in the space. And the best way to understand something is to build and to run a business out there. And that's the same thing I did with real estate sector, in commodities market, and many others, even outside of blockchain space. For me, it's about either investing to learn or building something to learn. If you don't do either of that, if you're just looking at a piece of blog article, or just reading a book about it, that's theoretical. You would never really figure answer to anything, because you're just hypothetically looking at ideas,
Mm.
but you don't know what it is like to be there. But when you build something, or when you invest, you face friction. When you face friction,
Yeah,
you find answers to problems that are not in the book. You ideate, your mind connects the dots, and that's when
yeah,
you really learn anything at all.
perfect. So to sum it up all, it was just a journey of curiosity and you just tackling everything and taking it head on.
Yeah.
And we at Yeti also have a lot of curious minds, and some of them would just want to get an idea about what blockchain actually is. So before we go deeper into trends and opportunities, I want to take a step back and connect with a bigger part of the audience that might not have a clear understanding of blockchain or crypto yet. Some might be hearing about it for the first time. So, in a very practical and easy to understand way, how would you explain what blockchain actually is?
Okay, so as the name says, blockchain is just different blocks of data connected as a chain. And what this really represents is a programmatic way of connecting the world and storing information, which is not centralized. What normally happens is you have a website or you have an application. The data is stored on a single server, like Amazon server or Google server. It's just stored in one place, or in your own computer if you want to launch your website from your computer. The problem with that is it's controlled by a corporation or by an entity, and you
Mm.
don't really have a lot of rights or access over it. If Google says they're going to take down your server for whatever reason, or there's an outage and your data is gone, it's gone, and you can back it up, but that's two sources of truth. What blockchain really does is to store that in every node, and every node could be a few thousands of nodes. So you essentially end up at a place where the data is in thousands or even few hundred thousand copies of it, which ideally means even if the half of the world is destroyed, your data exists because
Yeah.
it's in so many places, and it is programmable because you can change it in so many ways. If you look at a chain like Bitcoin, it is privacy focused. You don't really know the name of the person who owns a particular asset. You see the transactions, it's transparent,
Mm.
everything moves before your eyes, but you don't know who that wallet or that asset belongs to.
Yeah.
But there are chains like Monero where you don't even see that transaction properly. uh, so every chain, every blockchain can have different properties. It's something that you are able to uh, customize and build, and that's the whole point. So nobody can come in and say blockchain is X, Y, and Z, because
Mm.
it's a philosophy of freedom and choice, and it allows you to build things in any manner and form, and a community can get together behind that idea and use that whatever you created. So in very simple terms, blockchain is just data. uh, in a lot of cases it's money and transactions, but it doesn't have to be. It's just data connected in a sequence, stored across uh, a lot of different nodes, and it's distributed, so one party cannot kill it, delete it, destroy it. It is something that is powered as a community, owned as a community. Again, it doesn't have to be. It can be private, owned and run by banks, like what MasterCard is doing, but preferably run by a community of larger audience to protect and function. It removes intermediaries like banks and institutions, but it doesn't have to again. Uh, Yeah, that's blockchain and in short. But if you talk about crypto, crypto is the layer on top of it. It's the divisible transaction oriented layer. You can attach a value to it, and that's how it becomes a currency. Um, Stable coins or a kind of crypto. NFTs, as they say, art pieces represented online as a crypto. Right now, the Nasdaq is moving its stock trading to crypto, which basically just means the stocks are represented in cryptographic form in as a crypto units. So crypto is just anything that you can. It's just a it's an entity or an piece of code with which you can associate any value, no value at all, or stupid value like what meme coins had in the market, or stocks, or it can be a property like a real estate asset, gold, or anything at all in the world.
Perfect. And for someone who is not a developer as you and who doesn't come from a technical background, how can they actually get started in this space? What would be their first stepping stone into this area?
Well, at this point, there are many exchanges. If you're in the US, you have Coinbase, or in many parts of the world, you have Binance. Those exchanges have crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum that you can just go and access through your credit card or your bank account. Or even many banks right now offer crypto in their wallet. So that is for people who want to invest in it. But if you don't want to invest, you're looking at it purely from a technology standpoint as an entrepreneur, then look at the benefits of what blockchain has to offer, the decentralization, the transparency, and all these different benefits, and think about how can it help in your sector, in your business vertical. What can it do, or how can it solve a critical problem that your existing industry is facing? That would be the easiest step. You don't need to be a developer. If you can just understand the philosophy and the benefit of it, then it's a matter of finding people who can get that done for you and bring it to life. And AI is making all of that extremely simple right now.
Yes, and you gave us the perfect segue into my next question, which would be that AI is becoming a huge part of our lives, from chatbots to autonomous systems. But many people still don't understand blockchain. So, in simple terms, why would someone care about blockchain in today's AI-driven world?
Yeah, right now, all the AI, if they want to transact anything to anybody, agents and agentic AI, they are going to have their own wallets, agentic wallets, and they're going to transact. So the whole crypto landscape, I think in the next 5 years, the number of users are going to be mostly agents and less of even humans. So it is the native internet native currency, and it is the easiest way agents can transact. They can have their wallets and send funds, immediate transactions, immediate results. It just takes a second for the funds to settle, or a few seconds, and it's not like Swift or traditional system where you have to wait for a few days. You don't have working hours, you don't have working days. Everything is instantaneous settlement, and it's divisible. You don't have to do whole numbers. You don't have to send a minimum of $10 or $100. Everything is it can be 18 decimal points, so you can
Yeah.
send a small fraction of a dollar and it can be instant. So micro payments are possible, and a lot of these are going to be major in the agentic AI space, or even robots that are up and coming, autonomous taxis, autonomous flying taxis that's coming up. uh, Anything and everything in the AI and robotic world, there is no way for that to work without the blockchain's underlying infrastructure as a transaction layer. And
Okay.
also, it is important for them to have truth layer. So there is so for the payments, there is the micro payments. There is something called X402, a protocol through which people can make these micro payments automatically, even without API. So it's just an framework where you reach a particular web page, or an agent reaches a web page. It says it requires payment to access it. Agent makes an immediate payment and they're able to access. They don't have to sign up. They don't have to create an account. It's just an instant agent friendly protocol and framework there. In the same way, there's something for reputation. If you want to have an reputation system for agents that is natively possible on the blockchain, that is accessible by all agents, is transparent and verifiable, they all know that it's truth. But if it's just a database driven thing, like what Moldbook came about, an AI based social network, there was an allegation that a lot of those were humans behind it. The moment you have an real blockchain driven system, the ability to verify, validate something is also super high. And uh, and this makes it very interesting and powerful when it comes to the world of agents. There was one of the use cases that was discussed earlier, which was about cars. So in a autonomous transport model, the cars are just going on the road, and as you know, the autonomous vehicles are way more safer than humans driving it. And if a car wants to have prioritized access, they could just pay other cars to give them the way. So basically, to overtake, you just pay the other cars before you, and the payment is made through crypto, and it's just done instant settlements car to car, and you don't even know it is because those are autonomous vehicles. You're not even talking to a person, and you just pay and keep moving forward. So a lot of these use cases require assets to be in a crypto format, or what we call a tokenized format, whether it is stocks, real estate, gold, whatever the case may be. Everything tokenized can be transacted this way.
Okay. Which also brings around a point about trust and control in AI systems, which is about making AI smarter anymore. It would be about making sure it's reliable, transparent, and accountable. Some experts even say we might not be able to safely scale AI without something like blockchain. What would be your take on this, especially as someone who's been in the space long before it all began?
Well, I think we're talking about two different topics here: the AI safety, and that there are two parts to it. How we teach AI, what we teach AI, what are we sharing with it. I think one of the biggest challenges is that AI is learning its initial data from the wide internet, and a lot of its behavior also comes from Reddit, and the human nonsense that's been out there over time, the emotions, the frustration, and a lot of those things that goes on. But end of the day, the training process helps with the integrity of the AI. But AI lies. AI has its way of finding its way through. You will have bad AI incidents. You'll have bad situations about it. The safety is discarded quite a lot. If you look at a few, I think the best example is that when you have the cookie window, when you browse a website, accept and decline. A lot of people decline, and we speak a lot about privacy. But in the AI world, everything is shared with AI. All the API keys are shared. All the passwords are shared.
Yes. Right.
So everything is literally out there. People's privacy is thrown out of the window when the comfort becomes accessible, and this is going to lead to a lot of disasters. And governments are also doing that. As you see, autonomous weaponry is provided to the AIs to function with, and AI in military so early, so fast. So it is going to have its own impact in the years to come. So that is the AI safety and AI related parts, and the only way to deal with that, sure, the human training of it, the guardrails, that's all great, but in real instances, you have to fight AI with AI. So you need to have AI pollers, AI monitoring systems, AI driven monitoring systems for AI. So you're going to fight AI with AI. There are going to be different companies specialized in each of those layers to support. But coming back to blockchain is the information layer, data layer, where AI systems and AI, or even humans, can verify, validate something. Because if an AI is just coming to you and says it is basically your agent, there's no way to verify that. It can easily impersonate. It's just like having fake social media accounts with name and photo of someone else. You don't know if that is true until you knew that person's handle before. And it's the same way that works here, but in agentic world, it's even harder to figure that out. They estimate that by end of this year, there's going to be more agents than humans on Earth, and that just means that in the next 5 to 7 years, there's going to be more robotic agents than humans
Mm.
as well. And all of this means verification, validation, authenticity becomes critical moving forward. And uh, and privacy as well. You have something called zero knowledge proof in blockchain, being able to validate something without giving that information out in full transparency. So you hold the privacy of the information, but you're able to verify the information. So a lot of these things will come super handy with the agentic world.
Perfect. A lot of our early stage founders feel really overwhelmed. They have limited time, limited resources, and now two massive technologies to think about, which is AI and blockchain. If you were given the opportunity to start from scratch today, so would you, out of the two options, focus on solving a problem using AI first and then layer in blockchain later, or design everything with both AI and blockchain in mind from the beginning?
Just before I answer that question, I think right now we are not just facing blockchain and AI, but we also have a massive increase in space tech in areas like longevity and health. Uh, and a few of these other areas like robotics is also coming up. You see what happened with the White House and
Yes.
the first lady walking with a robot. So all of this signifies that the trend is going extremely fast on all of these areas. But AI and blockchain are the underlying things that's powering most
Mm,
of those monumental movements. And to go back to your question, if I were to start today, I think it depends on the problem that you're trying to solve. If it is a problem that requires the global dependence distribution and transparency, blockchain is super important because right now you see every financial ecosystem is moving towards that right now. So if they are moving towards it, when you start something, you better build something ground up. And this is more to do with how we think about a problem and reach a solution. So if you are to start something at this point and you're building something, it is critical that we are building it from the day one with the base layer inbuilt. So you cannot really reimagine a system after it's built with blockchain. You cannot reimagine a system after in the future integrating AI. That's improvisation. Improvisation is weak, and improvisation can only move you a little bit. But if you can when you build something with this layer engineered, you're not really thinking about blockchain and AI as technology that you're using in your business, but you're building AI first company, blockchain first company. And that is a whole different business model.
mm,
And that is how I would want it to be. But whether you use blockchain or whether you depend only on AI is a pure question of uh, the business that you're dealing with, the problem that you're dealing with, and who you're dealing with. So, let me give an example. If you're talking about a language training product, an education product for language, you could just go AI first. You don't need blockchain for that. But if you're talking about a financial product, then you need to have blockchain in there in most of the instances. So, it is a problem dependent because each of these products have different benefits, different value, and different integration. So I think I would just not force something into anything. I would ask the question on what it is that it's offering, what is it that my audience need, and if there's a beautiful match, so be it. But add a 5 year, 10 year horizon to it. So if you believe that is required in the future, then do it right now. Don't wait for it in the future, because then that is going to be the one difference through which a competitor is going to reinvent your business model with something better.
perfect. One thing I keep hearing about more and more lately are stable coins. As AI systems become more autonomous, as we discussed earlier, making decisions and even handling transactions, it feels like stablecoins could play a really important role as the underlying payment layer. So, from your perspective, do you see stablecoins as just a stepping stone, or do they actually become a core foundation for future financial systems?
It is already is a core foundation. The international settlements are going to be in stable coins. Everything is going to be crypto unstable. So I think the whole world, that's the only way it's going to work. Because think about it, if you use fiat currencies, it is not as powerful in ability to manage as a stable coin. As if you're, again, when I say fiat versus stable coin, I'm not. I think I'm referring to cash. If you're using cash, it's one thing. If you use bank transactions, it's the other. Stablecoin is the most updated, upgraded version of technological infrastructure for a fiat currency to operate in. So it is a default transaction, default transition that is required because stablecoins are compatible with AI. It's compatible with everything that is cost efficient, speed, and suitable for the current modern world. So there's just no reason why that should not be the base standard, base expectation in anything that we do in the future.
Perfect. Now, just stepping into opportunities in Web3, which is also your area of expertise, where would you see the biggest opportunities in crypto and blockchain space right now?
The biggest opportunity, I don't think I can really say something specific as an area of opportunity. I mean, I can, if you look at anything that deals with finance application, consumer application, tokenized assets, um, even decentralized finance connected to traditional finance, the traditional rails. All of those are amazing areas of opportunity. But I would really go back to not finding an opportunity in a sector, but thinking about a problem in the world and going back from there. Because the moment you talk about, here's a sector, I want to work in the sector, what is a opportunity, you're chasing a trend. But if you look at the problem in the world that you want to solve, it comes from your experience, your knowing of a situation, and then possibly a technology like blockchain or AI becomes a solution to get there. It becomes a means to an end. But we don't want a situation where an entrepreneur uses the opportunity as the end and trying to
Mhm.
capitalize on that. That just usually leads to useless results.
Perfect. And building on to that response, are there any specific niches or problems that you think are still unexplored or are ready for innovation at this point?
I think the whole world is open. At this point, the number of, if let's use the example of blockchain, uh, it's a single digit number of percentage of people in the world are aware of blockchain, hold some kind of crypto assets. Probably in countries like US, the exposure is a lot more, but globally, it's a single digit. And AI exposure is growing significantly, but it's still a small percentage of people who are using it for anything more than chat GPTing for what is the result of the sports game, or instead of Google they replace with chat GPT, but they don't really use agentic AI. So both of these are not used for what it truly is. If people are trading crypto, it is not using blockchain. If people are just sending money through stablecoin, it's not using blockchain. So the ability for these technologies to disrupt industries are significantly higher. Even in industries as basic as agriculture can be significantly improved with both AI and blockchain. And we see that with every sector in the world. So it doesn't matter what business you're in, it doesn't matter what sector you have experience with. Every one of that can be completely ground up changed with either of these two technologies or a combination of them. So the world is wide open for someone with experience in whatever sector they come from and ideas that they have for it.
Perfect. Now, we can move towards the entrepreneurship and founders journey, and how young entrepreneurs and curious innovators can be inspired by our journey. For future founders who are watching this, how can they not just survive, but actually stay relevant and thrive in the long term?
Well, I think at this point, we are at a beautiful time in the world where the challenges are increasing, opportunities are increasing at the same time. With the advent of AI, everyone can be an entrepreneur. It just becomes so easy, which means the competition for being an entrepreneur increases, but you're inevitably, you cannot not be an entrepreneur anymore.
Mm,
For people to just be employed, it's going to become way more difficult in the next
mm,
many years. AI can do everything. Why
yep.
should it have people in that particular role? At the
Mm,
same time, it increases the amount of opportunities companies can capitalize, which means they'll need more people to help them do that. So on the short term, there's going to be a increased job loss, and in the long term, there's going to be an increase in hiring. But that imbalance is going to create more entrepreneurs, which leads to more competition. And while the speed at which the world is moving is also increasing exponentially, what was 10 years of time period in the past is now 1 year. So you're moving at a 10x speed, and
mm,
maybe even that is going to increase from 10x to 20x, 30x in the upcoming years. So now it means that people have to move faster, think faster, act faster. So with all that increasing challenges, The one thing I would really say is that we are moving towards exponential growth. We are moving towards singularity, towards abundance. The challenges in the short term makes it appear like scarcity, but in reality we are moving towards abundance. We are moving towards deflation. The value of everything is going to fall down because robots and AI is going to make everything cheaper, and the cost of transaction goes down because of blockchain. So all this technology together makes things fast, cheap, easy, and efficient. So with that being the case, that being the baseline, we are just looking at a deflating economy. And if we are able to think fast, innovate fast, and implement things faster, the opportunities are open. Every field is open, and you can just go into any field, and if you have the right talent, interest, and the passion towards it, you can innovate it. So the question goes back to the entrepreneur. Are you
Hmm.
ready to put in the efforts? If you're 9 to 5, honestly looking at just work life balance, I don't think you're going to make it in the short term. You got to make sacrifices to get there. Entrepreneurship is not about comfort, it's about discomfort, it's about obsession, it's about breaking through challenges. And that means being head on against friction, against pushback, against uh, everything that feels satisfying for a human mind and body. You are going against the normal because I've heard people say that entrepreneurship is for insane people. It's not for sane people. So if you're insane, you break through all the rules of society, and you're out here to create something different. You need to be out of the box to be able to create and think out of the box, and that's what entrepreneurship enables you to do. So just do the undoable, think the impossible, and go out there and make something happen that people would just not think is practical or realistic or reasonable.
And one of the biggest early decisions that young entrepreneurs would have to make is finding the right co-founder. So, what would be your take on having a co-founder? So, would it be advisable to have a co-founder, or you should probably go solo?
I
And
think
what
this
should
question
this?
has a lot to do with your with who you are. I think you need to definitely run every entrepreneur through psychometric assessment. There are some people who can function efficiently alone, and there are some people who would be much better with a co-founder. And it also depends on your skill set and your role. Are you a generalist who can do a lot of different things, or are you a specialist who can only do one thing? If you're a shy technical engineer, then of course it makes sense for you to have someone extroverted with you for other things. But the question might also go towards the time. If this question was asked 5, 10 years ago, then of course the only choice was if you cannot do everything and you might need a co-founder for many things. But at this point, you can have AI co-founder. You don't even need a human co-founder. Uh,
Hmm.
just to give an example right now, in a day, at this point, I speak with 20 AI agents and I talk probably with one human member in my team. I have less and less need to speak with humans anymore. AI is fast, efficient, gets everything done. You are, they're 24/7. They don't need rest. They don't need to take breaks. They don't need work-life balance. They can just get things done there. As long as you give them energy, they just progress. So you can have an AI co-founder with you that enable you to do things as well. But of course, it's not a replacement for the human creativity and ingenuity. And you can always have co-founders if you like it, if it helps your progress. But there's no one answer to it. The number of solo founders are increasing drastically. Having co-founders are very good for creative partnership, for having two people with two different skills, complementary skills performing. You've seen that with Google, Apple, and all the different brands out there. They did have co-founders and they had complementary skills, but it does not essential anymore, but it's optionally there. I never personally had co-founders in most of my ventures in my life. I did have co-founders and co-founder in one of my ventures, but primarily all my ventures have been solo founded.
And have you ever seen a co-founder dynamic go wrong? And possibly people can learn something from that in their decisions.
The number of co-founder dynamic going wrong is insanely high. Business is hard just by yourself. Having a new person in the mix is as messy as it can get. It's not. It's exponentially difficult. So there are so many examples of that going wrong. It is pretty common. So is there a single lesson? No, there are a million different combinations, permutations of what can go wrong. But I would definitely say run through psychometric assessments before you decide to do something. Have an exit clause in the deal that you do. So when you try to work with someone, just don't work with a stranger that you met 3 days before. And if you do work with a stranger, make sure you have clauses in the agreement so that either of you can exit if you don't feel comfortable. Have the right paperwork in place. The chances of a co-founding relationship not working is more than it working if the relationship timeline is lesser. If you know them for 10 years, it's a different thing. But if you're building something with someone you met 6 months, 1 year before, it's another. So just keep yourself open to it. It's like a marriage. It's like any relationship. It can go wrong, and that's equally possible as much as it can go right. And things might not work as a business, things might not work in terms of your expectation of each other. uh, Everything is in minefield out there.
And another big challenge is fundraising. A lot of people see just the success stories and the glories that the companies achieve, but not what happens actually behind the scenes. What was your experience with raising funds? And what are some realities or challenges that founders should be prepared for?
I think when it comes to fundraising, for me personally, most of my businesses were self-funded. The only times I've raised fund is probably in one specific instance. So when it comes to fundraising, there are quite a lot of challenges. One is that it forces you to fall inside a narrative because money moves with narrative. And that means that you cannot just build whatever you want. In most instances, you have to be in a narrative within the sector where the money is flowing towards. And you get investor pressure. So are you ready for that pressure? Are you ready for the dynamics? Because their focus is to earn more. And that means you might not always get the breathing space that you need. Having wrong investor is as bad as having a wrong co-founder. So it opens more different dynamics and challenges that you might not be aware of. And having investors at one of your, let's say, in one stage of your company would mean that you need to bring investors in the next few stages because they need exit. So it puts you in a never-ending cycle of moving towards a possible exit quicker than later. So a lot of new dynamics open up with fundraising. But yes, not everyone has a privilege to fund their own ventures. You've got to raise funds, but who you raise funds from, and are they sophisticated investors, or they venture capitalists, or are they just friends and family? Those dynamics make a lot of difference. If you have friends and family, the impact from a venture is a lot higher than working with VCs. And working with VCs in the US is different from some of the other regions. There are differences with the VC culture in different parts of the world. So all of this needs to be considered. You need to study, and these answers are very specific to the region that you come from. If it is US, working with VCs are a lot more easier than, say, in other parts of Asia, where the risk taking is a lot lower in most parts of Asia. So these are some things for you to think about, and the time it takes for you to raise fund in US versus other parts is also significantly higher. And yeah, all of this should be considered in your process.
I believe every entrepreneur makes mistakes, and I believe mistakes are what makes an entrepreneur an entrepreneur. So, what was one mistake that taught you the most, and what would you do differently today?
Well, I think there's not one mistake. There are probably a million mistakes out there, but I think
What was one that stuck with you the most?
people, if you don't have the right people who have the right aligned interest, who are equally motivated, and who have life situation that supports them to support you, you're not gonna make a lot out with it. And again, this is not just one mistake, it's a bundle of mistakes connected to people. And I think I have just a lot of different perspectives around the people related areas.
So,
Just
people
be
would be
wise
your
with the
biggest
choice
mistake.
of people that you bring in. Be clear. Tell them what you expect out of them. Put that in paper. Make it black and white. Let that be made in bold, underlined, italics, so people actually get the true impact of what you're trying to say. If you're an entrepreneur and you're recruiting someone in your startup, if that role is not 9 to 5, tell them very clearly it's not 9 to 5. If that role requires them to work across different situations, which are not necessarily pleasant, make it explicit and make sure that they actually understand it. A lot of people, when you recruit, they say they understand what you say, but they don't unless they are there, and then they find themselves not a fit. And when they find it, that's expensive, because for them it's a 1 month or 3 months notice and then they're out, but you lose 6 months, 9 months of your business investment for them, with them, and not in terms of money, in terms of opportunity cost, and that is very expensive. So just make sure you're being explicit in business partnerships with clients, in hiring, in anything to do with another homo sapien.
So people would be our biggest mistake, and being clear since the beginning is the only way to tackle that.
Being clear all the way, all the time, because it's an ongoing thing. Every task you assign, every conversation, everything comes with clarity. So clarity of your goals, clarity of objectives, clarity of the new vision, and the changes that happens on an ongoing basis. Be vocal, be transparent, be clear, and manage expectations.
For young entrepreneurs, what mindset or habits do you think are essential to succeed in a fast-moving industry like crypto and tech, apart from the go-getting attitude that they should always possess?
Habit, it doesn't matter what habit, as long as it's one of the useful good habits. Just make sure you stick to a habit. The biggest problem with entrepreneurs is that they don't end up getting good habits, they end up getting a lot of bad habits. So you just need to learn how to break out of bad habit trends, how to persist on good habits and persist longer. Building good habits is a critical part of it. Discipline, I think that's something that I would focus on. And look at increments. All you need to focus on is the 1%, one step that you take today, and the 1% increment that you're going to do tomorrow. If you can focus on that, within 100 days, you're going to double yourself. But if you just focus on 100% growth and you don't have ways to get there, you're not going to get there. Exponential growth comes with smaller increments. At the same time, smaller increments cannot take 5 years to give you the exponential growth. If it takes too long, you're obsolete. If you just look at the big goal and you're frozen, you're not moving forward anywhere. So know the massive transformative purpose, but break it down into small parts and make sure you and your team are able to implement that day in, day out, and check in every day. Did you at least take one step towards the goal? And if you did not, you're wasting your time. You very much might as well pack the bags and go home.
Uh, a key question which I would want you to answer from your heart is, where do you derive the most joy from in what you do?
I think I read the book Happiness Hypothesis many years ago, probably a decade ago, and the research says that humans derive happiness from progress, and I think that's the same that goes for me. The destination, reaching the destination is nice, it's fun, but the progress is where you see and you feel happiness, satisfaction from. As long as I can see that I'm making a forward movement towards something, I feel good about it.
Which gives us the perfect segue into, was there ever a moment where you felt like, well, this is all over, I am finished, and what kept you going during that phase?
That's very common. It happens more often than I would like to admit. Uh, every time there is a change in the technology, I think I could say, when I got into blockchain space, when I got into content marketing right before that, I felt that once. Then the moment I got into blockchain, right before that, I felt that's how I got into the blockchain space. And I felt that right before I got into the media space. I felt that very recently before I got into the AI sector. This is something that probably in my life, it repeats every approximately 4 years. There's a major technology shift, and right before that, you feel lost, and then you rediscover yourself, you redefine yourself. If you don't do that um, multiple times, you're basically stuck, you're obsolete, you're a dinosaur living in a digital world. So the more often you do that, more you redefine yourself, more up to date you are. And that's one, I think, probably one of the reasons why I always found myself ahead of trend, ahead of a lot of people. And I could be early adopter for multiple technologies. And that's because I could keep going back to the existential crisis. And I
Mm,
keep
mm.
going back to that crisis because I keep thinking ahead, keep questioning things, and I'm more curious towards things. The more curious you are, the more you try to learn. The more you learn, more uncertain you become, because the more you learn, more you don't know, and you realize that. And more uncertain you become, more stability you want. And the more stability you want, you try to find new things, create new things that define it. And that process of creation leads to new business opportunities, new ventures, new possibilities, and new frontier.
And to close off our wonderful conversation, for someone thinking of leaving their full-time job, a full-time working position, and to become a full-time entrepreneur, what would be your honest advice?
It depends on your life situation. If you don't have an ability to survive without the job, you need to stick with the job until you find the right direction, because entrepreneurship is not, you switch and there you go. You might have months or you might have years without money before you make your money. Yes, if you find that solution, your ability to make money is insanely fast. You could become a millionaire in a few days to few hours, if even be, because the world is moving so fast. People are becoming billionaires in few months of starting the or even few weeks. Look at what happened with the OpenClaw notebook. They could become billionaires in a very short amount of weeks to months. But on the other hand, there are millions of people who fail and they don't go anywhere for years or even decades. So when you move towards entrepreneurship, make sure you have the right skills. You learned what you need to learn. You opened up your network. You spoke with the other entrepreneurs. You have the network of entrepreneurs with you, and know what it is that you want to do. And if you do have the backing that you're not going to get into trouble for 6 months, a year, etc., then check your job, get onto business, because the more time you spend on the business, the quicker you're gonna get to the other side. You need more time. You need 20 hours a day, 18 hours a day doing it. But if you have a job that takes about 8 hours or 10 hours of your time, and all of that takes time away from being an entrepreneur, the more you stay as an entrepreneur, the more your mind focuses on it, the more you think about it, the quicker you get there.
With that, we find a good, perfect conclusion to our amazing podcast. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Key, for sharing your journey and insights with us. I'm sure this is going to help and inspire a lot of people in the Yeti community. And to everyone watching, we hope you found something valuable and vital in this episode.